Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. Now, I'm going to be doing a series of videos just basically giving you some advice about how to go about buying your next home and some other advice in relation to buying your next home. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that no, I am not a real estate agent. The advice I'm giving you is just my personal advice. This is a kind of advice that either other people have told me back when I first started buying houses, and this is the advice that to this day I go off of when I buy houses for myself. So this advice I'm giving, and again, I am not a licensed agent. I'm not a licensed broker. I'm not any of that. I'm just a normal human being that has purchased and sold a significant amount of houses. So the advice that I'm giving is advice that I this is the kind of advice that I go by when I go about buying a house mainly. So I'm gonna make a few videos in no particular order that's gonna address real estate because right now, as some of you might realize, we're already in a recession, and there's a few of you out here that are rushing and you're trying to buy yourself a house before interest rates go up so high that you can't even afford to buy a house. So there's some of you that are out here, you're frantic, you're desperate, and you just want to buy something because you don't want to continue to have to pay rent. As we all know, rent prices have went through the roof in the last year and a half or so. So many of you are just scrambling out here. You're looking to buy something. You're looking for something that's within your budget. So I just want to make these videos to help some of you out, give you some advice that hopefully will be of value, and it will save you some time, stress, and a significant amount of your money as well. Now on this video, basically I'm gonna discuss prices. Now I do realize that there are certain parts of the country to where people are not only willing to pay asking price, but you got a lot of people that are willing to pay more than asking price. You got certain areas of this country that are so competitive that basically whenever there's a house for sale, it's going to cause a bidding war basically. Now I know this is going to be kind of a touchy topic that I'm going to discuss, but I'm going to discuss it anyways because I believe it's important that it gets discussed. And I'm just gonna basically inject how I feel about all this, and what I would do if I was in your shoes. Now, as I told you on a video that I made about a month or so ago, I've been fairly active in the housing market in Indiana as well as Alabama. I mean, I've been buying and selling houses. I've been buying and selling houses in both of those states, not as a real estate agent, but just as a regular person. Now, as far as me buying and selling houses, yes, I do hire real estate agents. I don't do this by myself. I do hire a real estate agent, just so you guys understand that. Now, there's a lot of you that, depending on what part of the country you live, depending on, there's a lot of you that either know someone that has participated in the bidding war, or maybe you yourself may have been in a bidding war at some point because you saw a house, you liked the house, you liked the area, and you just couldn't picture the rest of your life without buying this particular house and living in this particular location. So you went in the bidding war. I mean, maybe the house may have been priced at, let's say $200,000. Well, you submitted a full price offer, as some of your agents may have suggested you to do. The seller came back and told you, okay, well, $200,000 basically isn't good enough. You know, maybe you may have heard, maybe your realtor may have heard through the grapevine that someone's going to submit an offer for $220,000. Or sometimes a seller might come back and tell you that they'll take your offer, they'll entertain your offer if you offer, let's say, $215,000. So, okay, so now you're under pressure, because now you're under the assumption that other people want to buy that property. And depending on where in the country that you live, that assumption might be true. Especially a couple of months ago. Now, even today as I speak, yes, the market has slowed down a little bit, but there's certain pockets of this country to where the market is still competitive and people are still willing to overpay and go into bidding wars. So, like, there's folks out here that might look at a property and, I don't know, we'll just use California for an example. They might look at a house in California that might be priced at $1 million. I mean, I'm not even sure if there's even houses in California for $1 million. I mean, maybe for $1 million in most parts of California, all you get is a freaking condo. I don't know, but I'm just using this as a generic example. You might come across a piece of real estate in California for $1 million. And you're thinking, okay, I can do $1 million. I can pay that mortgage, no problem. You know what I'm saying? My money good. My money, my money tight. My money good. So, but however, by the end of the day, by the time it's all said and done, rather than you buying that property for $1 million, you might look up and you may have spent $1,500,000 just to make sure that you got that property and nobody else. Now, and now all of a sudden, you done paid 50% beyond the asking price. So now the question that you gotta ask yourself is, are you gonna be able to afford that type of a mortgage? Or if you're the type that buys houses and pay cash, the common sense question would be, do you have that kind of money to pay cash and still be able to carry on with the rest of your life from a financial standpoint? You know, still have plenty of money to do whatever else you do and not have to worry about going in debt, not have to worry about taking out extra loans or any of that type of stuff. Now, me personally, I would never go into a bidding war over a house. When I say never, I mean never. I've never been in a bidding war, and I never will be in one. Whenever, I mean, and I guess that's one of the reasons why I choose to live in states like Indiana and Alabama, states where, yeah, people are moving to them, but not at an alarming rate. You know what I'm saying? People aren't, I mean, I would say, for the most part, people aren't exactly kicking the door down to live in Alabama or Indiana. There's people moving to those two states, don't get me wrong, but not like they are, let's say, Tennessee or the Carolinas or Texas. And that's one of the reasons why I choose to live in the type of states where I choose to live, because I do not want to participate in a bidding war. I'm not doing that crap. Like, whenever I want to buy a house, if I really, really, really like the house and the market is crazy busy, okay, maybe I'll pay full price. Which, honestly, to this day, I've yet to pay full price from any of my houses I ever purchased. I mean, I've purchased my very first property in 2006. It was a condo in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Back when purchasing homes in Tennessee were actually affordable. back in the dark ages. Now, ever since 2006 all the way up until now, I have never paid even full price for a house. I have never overpaid for a house. I have never participated in the bidding war for a house, and I never will. Whenever I want to buy a house, I pay below the price. I don't pay above asking, I pay below. And when I say below, I'm talking about $10,000, $20,000 below. I mean, typically when I go about buying real estate, that's what I do. Because one trend which I notice is whenever there's a real estate boom, there's an almost always be a real estate crash. And whenever there's and before the real estate crash, there's going to be what they call a recession. Now I remember back when I bought my first property in 2006. The market then was crazy. I mean, the market was just crazy. For those of you that are old enough to remember the real estate boom in the early to mid 2000s. And then in 2008, in the earlier part of 2008, before the government announced that we were in a recession, it was the market was still fairly busy. It was still fairly competitive. So 2 years later, I did not want to be in a condo no more, because to me a condo was like a glorified apartment. So I sold my condo and I purchased a brand new house. It is a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Brand new. I mean, it was so brand new that I was the very first one to live in that joker. Now, with this house, again, I did not pay full price. On this particular house, I paid $10,000 below the asking, and they've accepted the offer. Now, remind you, this is back when I had to pay a mortgage. Like with the condo I used to own back then, I had a mortgage on it. With the house that I'm talking about right now, that I used to own in Tennessee, I had a mortgage on that one as well. But even when I had a mortgage, I never paid beyond asking. I never even paid asking. I paid below asking. At least $10,000 below asking. I mean, I would go for $20,000 below, which sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But typically I would end up paying at least $10,000 below asking. So anyhow, I bought my second house in 2008. Now, shortly after I bought that house, guess what? The housing market began to slow down. However, before the housing market slowed down, the government has officially declared a recession. So the same crap that's going on right now, the recession / the slowing down of the housing market, the same crap that's going on now went on back in the late 2000s. It's the same crap. So I say all this because there's a lot of you out here that, like I said earlier, you're scrambling around, you're looking to buy a house before the interest rates get so high that you cannot afford to buy a house. You're sick and tired of paying rent. Rent prices are insane. You're just trying to buy a house and not have to deal with the madness of landlords and crap. I get it. I understand you. And I can relate to those feelings because that's how I was back in the day. I mean, I would never go back to being a renter. I'm happy to be a homeowner. So for those of you that are striving to achieve that goal, I wish you all best of luck, and I feel for you guys in this current market. However, remember one thing. When you look at a piece of real estate that you want to purchase, before you go into a bidding war and you end up paying over asking price and you end up possibly overextending yourself financially, understand one thing. Whenever there's a housing boom, there's gonna almost always be a housing crash. Whenever there's a housing crash, either before or after the housing, around at the same time that there's a housing crash, there's gonna be what's called a recession. So remember that. And whenever there's now I've only been in one recession before. In the last recession we had in the late 2000s, a bunch of people done lost their jobs. A bunch of smaller businesses had to close their doors and go out of business because they weren't making enough money to keep their doors open. So I say all this to say that you do not want to overextend yourself financially when it comes to your home. Because if you do, you got to understand the recession is just around the corner, and the probability of you losing your job could be quite substantial. And if you lose your job, how do you pay your mortgage? How do you save money for the repairs that your house will need? How do you save money for your car repairs? How do you save money for whenever you have to go to a doctor or get prescription or whatever you need money for? Those are things that you want to think about. No, give me 1 second. I got to cut on a light here. It's getting kind of dark. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, like I was saying, you do not want to overpay for your home, because many people that overpay for their homes typically are going to overextend themselves financially. And like I was saying a minute ago, whenever there's a housing boom, there's going to be a housing crash. And with a housing crash, oftentimes there'll be a recession, just like what's going on right now. And hopefully this recession doesn't get as bad as the last recession did. But if it does, what you guys are going to see is you're going to see a bunch of people getting foreclosed on because they were unable to pay their mortgage due to the loss of their job. And they're not going to be able to sell their house because A, they're going to instantly be upside down in their house. And B, there's not going to be enough people out here looking to buy because everybody's going to be broke or be afraid to buy due to the loss of their job. So you don't want to go out here. I'm going to give you an example. You don't want to go out here and look at a house that's priced at, let's say, $100,000, and you buy the house for $100,000 and you agree to pay a mortgage of, let's say, $120,000, and then a few months, and then let's say a year from that point or a few months from that point, you find yourself in a pickle because you lost your job because due to the recession, maybe your company cut your hours or they eliminated your position. So now you're on the hook for $115,000, and the house at that particular point might only be worth, let's say, $90,000, which will have you instantly upside down in your home. So you don't want to put yourself in a compromising position to where you're praying for the bank to have mercy on you and to work with you. Now, some banks will work with you. Other banks, you know what? They're not going to work with you. They're going to just be like, hey, you either pay this payment or you're going to get foreclosed on. And you don't want to be in that position to where you're facing potential you're potentially facing getting foreclosed on. So just remember that the next time you go out here looking for a house. Never overpay. Never pay beyond asking. Always pay below asking. Learn to negotiate. Hire a real estate agent that's willing to negotiate on your behalf. So just remember those basic pieces of information when buying your next piece of real estate. Until next time, everybody have a blessed one. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next one.